Hello, ladies and gentlemen. As you all might know, I recently recorded How to Gragas, and not even 24 hours beforehand, Riot announced that they were going to rework Gragas, change quite a lot of how he works. His E has a stun now. His Q has an attack. No, not an attack speed. His move speed slow, and his W doesn't give attack damage. It just gives like a one-hit bonus. So, to drown my sorrows, and, well, to get into the spirit of Gragas, I've been busy. So, well, I decided to re-record the video, but more in the spirit of Gragas. So, happy April 1st. Let's do this. Get those games! Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Again here with another League of Legends champion guide. Have you ever wanted to play drunk? This is not you drunk, but a drunk. Except I'm kind of drunk right now. How about a drunkard who's drunk so much that he's gained boost superpowers? And Gragas, the rabble rouser, is the champion for you. Join me now, and let's learn how to Gragas. Gragas is a portly, ability power-based mage fighter. He excels at area of effect burst damage, crowd control, and long-form sustain. He has both long-range poke and up-close brawling potential. To offset his well-rounded figure, he has some very difficult skill shots to land, not only for their distance and speed, but for their effect as well. You can usually find him in the middle lane, but he does well in the top two, and can even jungle in a pinch, albeit oddly. I said that wrongly the first time I recorded this. I said pitch, which is really silly. Gragas' passive is Happy Hour. His magical booze does body good. Whenever he uses one of his abilities, Gragas takes a swig and restores 2% of his maximum health over the next 4 seconds. This effect doesn't stack, only resetting if you use a new ability, so if you want to get the full effect of Happy Hour, you'll need to space your abilities out. Though it doesn't make too much of a difference in short fights, it certainly helps. Where it shines is in the laning phase and over long poking engagements, allowing the big brawler to trade repeatedly, much more than many of his frailer opponents. This is difficult. I had one of these for the record, and then another one of these, and I'm most of the way through this one. Speaking of poking, the rabble rouser's Q is barrel roll. He takes one of his big kegs and sends it tumbling towards your location of choice. After 5 seconds, it explodes, dealing magic damage and slowing the attack speed of nearby enemies for 3 seconds. Cause Riot hates me, it slows movement speed instead. Because what Gragas needed is definitely more crowd control. Definitely. But, of course it slows. I mean, after all, how well do you fight while drunk? I don't know. Maybe I could take you out. Probably not. While it's sitting there, you can activate the ability again to have it explode early. You can also push the button again while the barrel is still traveling to have it explode immediately upon arrival. Barrel roll is Gragas' main source of ranged poke, which is strange because the barrel rolls quite slowly. This requires that you become quite good at leading your target. This also means that getting up close and personal makes it much easier to hit for a huge burst all at once. It's also fantastic at clearing waves of minions. Just a little bit of ability power can clear a wave's caster minions. With a lot of AP, he can clear whole waves with ease. Since it can sit around for about 5 seconds, it's also useful as a zoning tool, deterring your enemies from approaching a certain area, keeping them from last hitting, or perhaps attacking a weakened ally. For all these reasons, we'll take a point and barrel roll at level 1, and max it out first. Gragas' W is called Drunken Rage. It allows you to play the Gragas drinking game. Take a drink and push the button every time it comes off cooldown, like right now. By the end of the game, you'll be smashed, and so the enemy nexus. When you activate the ability, you gain some mana and begin a 1-second channel, although apparently, with the new one, you don't get mana, so whatever, Riot. The ability also costs no mana to cast, by the way, because that'd be weird. I mean, it's supposed to give you mana. Why would it cost mana if it gives you mana? If the channel is completed, Gragas gains that amount of mana again and becomes empowered for the next 20 seconds. It's shorter, I guess, with the new one. Massively increasing his attack damage, not the case anymore, and reducing all incoming damage to him by a hefty percentage. With just 20% cooldown reduction, Gragas can activate his ability every time it comes off cooldown and have the buff permanently. Be careful when and where you use the ability. This is still true with the new one. If you cancel the channel, or if an enemy silences or stuns you, or does anything else that can stop it, like the new Cassidy's Q, you won't get the buff, nor the extra mana, especially not now. Using other abilities or trying to move will also cancel the ability, so be careful. Drunken Rage is really strong for Gragas' sustain, both in and out of combat, as well as in combination with Gragas' next ability. For all these reasons, we'll take a point in Drunken Rage at level 3, and max it out second. Still accurate. Our Stout Brawler's E is Body Slam. Just as you might expect, the fat drunkard charges forward, slamming himself into the first enemy he encounters. When he does, he deals magic damage to that enemy and all enemies around it, as well as slowing them for a few seconds. The damage that Body Slam does scales not only with ability power, but with attack damage as well, making it work even better with Drunken Rage. With the two combined and a short-range barrel roll to follow, Gragas can deal quite a bit of surprise burst damage. A few quick exchanges like that in lane and first blood can be easily yours. Body Slam only collides with enemies, that is to say you can use it to dash across walls and barriers of all sorts. How Fat Man passes through a solid wall is beyond me, but yay, magic boosts and real boosts. To offset this surprising and awesome ability, Body Slam has a somewhat long cooldown that is halved should he hit an enemy with it. For closing distances, the slow, getting the last hit on some minions, and of course the mobility, take a point in this at level 2 and max it out last. Gragas' ultimate is powerful and difficult to use. Ever heard of a Molotov cocktail? Try that, but barrel-sized. The Rabble Rouser tosses a heavy explosive cask to a target area, dealing massive damage and knocking all enemies a set distance away from the center of the explosion, as well as briefly giving vision of the area. The damage portion of the ability can of course be used in conjunction with his other abilities to quickly burst down a target, but it's the knockback portion that sets Gragas apart. In addition to now the knockback from his E and stun. But either way, a good ultimate can make or break a team fight, as it can knock them both towards him and away, depending on his position. This is what separates a good Gragas player from a not so good one. We'll talk about this more later, but for now, know that you should simply take a point in it every chance you can. For runes, I recommend Magic Penetration. Oh, I lost my spot. Magic Penetration marks, there we go. Flat armor seals, flat magic resistance glyphs, and movement speed quintessences. Now, you should calm down and listen before you yell at me for not taking any AP. His scaling is generally pretty good, but he has some really great base damage stats, so in the early game, you should do just fine. You can always buy more later, and we'll get to some for masteries anyway. The marks are standard for casters. I mean, it's magic penetration, everyone wants those, and the AP and marks is crap. So, the rest is mostly due to the fact that he's melee, and not only does he have to get in close to last hit, because he's melee, but Gragas does most of his damage, and his best trait is right up in the enemy's face. To do that, he's got to get there, and to do so safely to make it worthwhile. Combine that with Drunken Rage, and your passive and the Fat Man will come out on top more often than not. As for masteries, we'll take a bit more standard approach with 2109, going all out for AP burst in the offense tree, and grabbing some speed, cooldown reduction, and buff duration and utility. Gragas loves himself a blue buff, so no complaints here. Keeps his drinks nice and chill. Summoner spells are also pretty straightforward. Flash is an absolute must-have on Gragas. Extra mobility, dodge spells, position for barrels, and combine this with Body Slam to close gaps like nobody's business. Ignite is very strong early game, allowing him to secure some early kills and begin snowballing. It starts to deteriorate as the game goes on, of course, but is still decent throughout. If you're facing an exceptionally troublesome bursty lane, consider taking Barrier instead, or Exhaust versus heavy AD teams, like Talon or Kha'Zix or Lee Sin on the other side of mid lane. All works. Both will likely cost you some early kills compared to Ignite, but it's better than dying. Always better than dying. When equipping our deranged drunkard, start with a Doran's Ring for a good all-around start, or a Crystalline Flask if you need to be more defensive. For boots, we'll go with Sorcerer's Shoes, as with most mages. For getting ahead in lane, rush straight for Rabadon's Death Cap. You'll want to get it eventually regardless, but whatever. If, on the other hand, you're falling behind, especially if your jungler isn't keen on sharing the blue buff, work towards an Athene's Unholy Grail. Gotta have a cup to keep your booze in. Gragas needs a steady diet of mana to go... Oh, I lost my spot. Gragas needs a steady diet of mana to go along with his booze, even with Drunken Rage, although booze. A cooldown reduction is mighty welcome as well. Zhonya's Hourglass, Void Staff, and Merlin are all good options to round out your belly. Your build. This is... The joke's a lot funnier when I say it when I'm not drunk, okay? Just deal with it. Deal with it. If you're facing a particularly tough opponent in lane, like a LeBlanc that'll just burst you to nothing real fast, or a Kale, which sucks, consider grabbing a Rod of Ages early for even more sustain. Abyssal Scepter is a strong pick versus other AP opponents, especially when they start to fear your power and buy MR of their own. Raleig's Crystal Scepter adds a slow to your poke from barrel roll, although you get a poke now with the new Q, because it slows movement speed, and I don't even know if that works anymore, guys. But hey, more health synergizes with your Happy Hour passive, so that's good. Similarly, Spirit Visage and Warmog's Armor grant quite a lot of synergy there, while being strong defensive picks in their own right. Lastly, if there's some heavy AD on the enemy team, and Zhonya's not cutting it, you might want to grab a Frozen Heart. Okay, items are done. There's another page. Jesus, how much did I write? Oh. This is a lot of stuff here. Let's do the dream. You know what? Screw it. You guys are smart. Just go on, like, Mobify or something. Law King. Those are good. Roll the credits.
Have a drink! Hey! Gather close and listen here. A tale of mead for every ear. A storm is brewing on the rift. No need to make an arcade shift. Happy hours on the rise. I'm rather drunk, that's no surprise. Raise a flask and start the year with several pints of beer. Hey! The masteries